sexy digital nomad. From Portugal to Lisboa to Cadiz, Mallorca, Barcelona, Malaga to Bucharest, seeing the world is the best. Spreading love and entertainment, human connection is his song. The globe is his playground, karaoke, dance, and mahjong. Where in the world is Big Sexy? If you miss him, that's your bad. Where in the world is Big Sexy? Big Sexy Digital Nomad. Spreading love and entertainment, human connection is his song. The globe is his playground, karaoke, dance, and mahjong. Where in the world is Big Sexy? If you miss him, that's your bad. Where in the world is Big Sexy? Big Sexy Digital Nomad.
What up, sexy world travelers? This is your boy, Big Sexy. This is the part of the show where we want to thank our big, sexy world travelers. Now, what makes a sexy world traveler a big, sexy world traveler, you ask? Well, big, sexy world travelers made their way over to our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/big sexy digital nomad, or better yet, bullwiththebutthole.com, and became supporters of Big Sexy Digital Nomad. So we want to say thank you to Jesus, Galen Diggs, Smitty Scoop, Angel Quo, Bree, Chris and Lisa Lowry at gowithlisa.com, Sebastian Robbins, Margaret White, Lee Popsicle, and Joshua Tarr. And we want to send a very special thanks to the sponsors of our podcast, Billy and Larissa, over there at cruisehabit.com. To check out their site, go to cruisehabit.com/BSDN or cruisehabit.com/Big Sexy. If you too would like to be a big, sexy world traveler and support this podcast, swing on over to bullwiththebutthole.com. That will take you to our Patreon page, where for as low as $1 a month, you too can become a big, sexy world traveler and have your name read at the start of our show. We thank you all for listening. Safe travels.
Safe travel.
All right, here we go.
What is up, my big sexy world travelers? This is Judge Mentalist coming at you hot off a week being in Central Oregon. Don't worry, I'm here. I avoided all of the wildfires that are out there. This is episode 100. That's right, episode 100, where we were once told that you are not a legitimate podcast until you do 100 episodes. Today, we've got a legitimate guest for you. Big Sexy, take it away.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever this is hitting your ear holes, I hope that it is good. As my co-host lovingly said, this is episode 100. I cannot believe we've made it this far It's amazing. There's two dudes talking about random shit. But we, of course, our father podcast, ICS, one of their main hosts, our good friend Matt Donnelly, said that a podcast isn't legitimate until they've reached episode 100. And I know that for episode 100, I said we have to get a legitimate guest. And so we did. We got the incredible, amazing, talented improviser, comedian, singer, dancer, actress, dance choreographer, part of so many different shows, co-host of the amazing podcast, The Side Hustle, Las Vegas extraordinaire, talented, beautiful, incomprehensible, Sarah Lowe.
Big Sexy, you're gonna make me. Can you hear me? Okay, because I'm gonna I want to go hide after that introduction. That was too much. You're always so sweet. You are the most generous and kind and loving human.
Well, I'm with that with people that I absolutely love, and Sarah, I absolutely 100% love you. I don't even know if you remember when we first met.
Well, it has to be at least 14 years ago. And I believe it was wasn't it at the old Onyx?
At the old Onyx Theater, yes. You were part of the Sleeping Policeman.
Yeah.
And of course, I had just entered into the improv scene, right? And going to those jams and figuring out who was who. And of course, for those who don't know, the improv jam would be a series of improv groups. It would start with games for the entire audience, and we'd all get up and play, do some short form improv. And then the second half was a group of different improv troupes, and it was almost always closed out by the headliners of the Sleeping Policeman. Remind me of who were the Sleeping Policemen? Who all were in that cast?
Well, it was basically leftover people from Second City were teaching improv in town. So improv was still kind of going. So Michael Hartnett was around, Paul Mattingly, Matt Donnelly and I had come into the scene probably like just barely before you. Eric Jeffers, Benedict would sometimes pop in. And I would pop in. They were kind of the core group, but right. Those were the teachers, and so that's kind of how we did it in New York, and I think that's how they were doing it here. Was you had your heavy hitters play at the end,
right? And you guys were definitely heavy hitters. I remember sitting in the audience having just played, and again, I was a heavy hitter back in California, right? My whole purpose of moving to Las Vegas was because one of the reasons, besides loving Las Vegas, I felt that I had outgrown at least the part of improv community that I was a part of in California.
Well, yeah, and you came in hot, so you were probably by far one of the funniest that jumped up there doing the short form. And what was it? It's like I remember laughing really hard. You had a couple of great one-liners in it's like. Oh, what were those? It was like 100 and something.
185 blah blah blahs, or
yeah.
Those kind of games.
Really solid, so quick. And there was a couple of those games that they would do. So yeah, it was, and that was always, every now and then you'd get somebody that you're like, wait, who's this? Where are they from? What's going on? And that was you, because you also have the other ones who are so sweet and just doing their best and just want to get up there. They don't know what they're doing or what they're saying. Yeah,
but they're having a good time, and was what was important. But no, and then I remember going, and I'll tell you this funny anecdote. So let me finish my sentences. Funny anecdote. I'm in Andalusia, Spain, and they tend to clip their words here. Granted, their words are in Spanish, but they have a tendency to speak fast and clip their words. And I've noticed that I have been doing that, but in English.
Yeah, it's pretty common for Americans to now be a little bit faster paced, I think, because everything is quicker with our shorter attention spans.
Right.
And I noticed that too, that sentences aren't being fulfilled. So good for you for noticing and making
Yeah.
adjustments. The judge would be proud, I am sure.
Of course. Of course he would. We when I formed the improv, didn't form, when I joined the Swinging Johnson Brothers back in California, where Big Sexy was born, they were like a big improv troupe, touring and performing, and I was able to join. When I came to Vegas and I saw the Sleeping Policeman, I went, "Oh, cool! I can join the Sleeping Policeman because they're the big improv troupe, and I want to become a member of that." Until I realized, no, that's not how that works. You gotta you gotta form your own troupe and build it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Which we did. Shout out to Big Fun, which is
Yeah.
hilarious. Excuse me. Everybody thought that I named the troupe
Mm-hmm.
because I'm Big Sexy,
You're big sexy and you like to have big fun.
and I didn't.
Oh,
Casper came up with Big Fun.
oh, that's great.
Yeah, and then everybody had big names, and that was probably inspired by me. I'll assume that was inspired by me.
Yeah, I would imagine.
But anyhow, let's start from the beginning. Sarah, tell us where you're from, who you are, what do you do?
I am originally from Burbank, California. Shout out Warner Brothers and all the
Shout out
studios.
WB.
And born and raised there. When I was just 19, 20, I decided not to go to school. I always knew I wanted to be on Broadway, so I moved to New York City and was taking classes. And I had done like a regional production was like an equity show, but it toured a little bit. It was a West Coast tour, and I had done some community college, but that tour was like, wait a minute, you will pay me to perform and fly me places and put me up in a hotel? What is school? School is stupid. I want to do this forever. So it would be so easy. And kind of like you, I was like, I'm moving to New York. It's going to be great. And boy, was it really hard and and a wake up call, but it was great. And so I moved to New York and I did some shows there. And then I got cast in a production of Mamma Mia that was playing in Las Vegas. And so I moved here for a little bit. I'm currently in Las Vegas. And then I moved back. And what's interesting is I thought Vegas was great, but I didn't want to be stuck here because I could see myself living here for a long time. And I was only 23. And I thought, I don't want to get, I have so much more life in me. So I moved back to New York, and that's when I started taking improv. Actually, interestingly enough, I had started taking improv with Second City out here, and Paul Mattingly was in one of the classes that I took. Whoa. And I remember, in 2003. And I remembered him, and then moved back to New York, kind of forgot all those people, decided I wanted to continue taking improv, started taking improv at the People's Improv Theater, where I had the choice between two teachers, Kurt Brauneler and Matt Donnelly, and I couldn't pronounce Kurt's last name, so I went with Matt Donnelly.
Well, this is the class that he kicked you out of, right?
The class that he kicked me out of, yes.
Right.
I
For
took
reasons.
class, yeah, and then we went on a date, and he said, "You can't take my class anymore." So I ended up in Kurt's class anyway.
Right. I'm probably better off for it, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, he was a great level 1 teacher. Yeah. And then I Matt Donnelly and Rebecca Johnson went to college together, and so I met Rebecca through Matt and became very good friends with her. We started talking about writing a show. The Apple Sisters was born.
Apple Sisters.
Yeah, and then we had a really great first year and got into the Montreal Just for Laughs Comedy Festival. And got agents and managers, and we're about to move to LA when I went in for a final callback for a show called Jersey Boys. And
heard of it. I'm familiar.
That was playing in Las Vegas. And so they hired me for that. So the girls moved to LA, I moved to Las Vegas, and would just on my day off go to LA. So I thought I would be out here for 6 months to a year, and that turned into 14.
you planted serious roots
So now you know.
in Vegas. Yes.
Yeah.
And really no sign of that changing, because I mean, obviously you're entrenched now. You have how many of the jobs, so to speak, that were part of the opening resume are still currently active roles that you're doing?
None. I mean, when I came out here, I was just
No, I mean
doing...
from what Big Sexy prattled off in the very, very beginning.
Wait, say that again.
So actor, dancer,
All of your accolades
singer.
Oh,
from the
well,
opening.
that is, you know, when we moved here, we were just going to stay for 6 months. And that was at the end of 2008. And everything was crashing. And Matt's brothers were like, had real people jobs and said, if you have a job and you're keeping it right now, don't leave it. So we decided to stay for a full year. And, and then it was like, and then we got engaged, and then we got married, and then we had babies. So it just kept being like, all right, we'll stay a little bit longer. When Jersey Boys closed, I wasn't sure what we were going to do, but Matt had already started working with Penn and Teller and loved it and was like, why? And I thought, all right, it's time to move to LA. And he said, why would we do that? There's so much work here to be had, and it's financially a better idea with our children and a house than to move to LA and not be able to afford anything and never see them because we're just going to be working all the time. So I think, now this year we had a production of Jersey Boys. It just closed. We remounted a production of Jersey Boys. And I was a production supervisor for that. So that was a different part. And I work at Absinthe technically I'm a clown at Absinthe and the Atomic Saloon Show. So I'm a performer. I sing a little bit in Absinthe, but it's not, it's not scripted for me to do that.
Nice.
And
so you still get a chance to throw your improv in there as well.
Oh yeah, Absinthe is pretty much all improvised, and Atomic is what I call on the rails. So Atomic is more scripted, and that allows me to act, and there is some singing in there, and there is some dancing in there. So I do feel like I get to do, what my theatrical roots are, and and in being out here, I've had the opportunity to do some television and film as well, either out here or back in LA if it so provides, So it's really been good for us.
You've also been flexing your director muscles.
Yeah, that was really fun this past year, and kind of playing with that a little bit, and directing. Sarah Hester Ross is a performer.
Sarah Hester Ross.
She's an incredible performer, and I've gotten to direct a couple of her music videos. Yes. That we are really proud of. And I did the show Magic Mike out here for a little bit as the MC. And one of the dancers happens to be an incredible cinematographer. And so he and I work really well together in shooting some of her videos. So that's also, it's like a very wide range of things that we do out here that I don't think I'd have the opportunity. I mean, perhaps I'd have it other places, but certainly out here, I feel like it's a more supportive environment and very welcoming, friendly one. So
it's also such a small community, right? It's like the Vegas entertainment world is a really small community. While it's a large entertainment, everybody knows everybody. So if you're working and you're doing good work and people like you, you can get more work and do more work, and people will like you other places.
Yeah. And, we did the Apple Sisters show out here last Christmas. And again, it was just one of those, like, the amount of different people we've collected over time that if I say the name Matt King in LA, not a lot of people know who he is, but he's pretty popular out here because he's had a magic show that's run for, 30 years. And Clint Holmes is somebody who's a local, he had a hit back in the 70s, but he's always kind of played and headlined, and he's a brilliant musician and singer. He and his wife, Kelly Clinton Holmes, they do shows around town, and they're absolutely brilliant and wonderful shows. And those people come to our shows and we go to their shows, and it's a smaller pond, but it allows for growth and support. So it's pretty And you're either like living in Henderson or Summerlin, whereas if you're in LA, you could be in Santa Monica or Laguna
or
or
Pasadena or Los Feliz
and
or
because of traffic and parking, nobody wants to go anywhere. So I see them as much here and there, I think, as I would if I lived there.
right, that
Not
part.
to mention having children that are, at an age where they're in school and active is kind of, it's nice to be able to have the freedom to be able to do stuff with them during the day.
Right. And I've noticed mainly via social media and other outlets that you guys definitely one, allow your kids to be your kid themselves and marvel at their personalities, but also take them places and do things and really try to give them experiences at a young age where they can appreciate it. Like you just took them, as we said, I think before, maybe right, but you just came back from Paris.
Yeah, smooth and sexy transition, Big Sexy. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I am King Segway.
Yeah, that was a solid segue. I liked it. Right on that scooter. Yes, I think part of living in Vegas allows us to bank a little bit more money because we don't have to pay so much in our costs.
Rent, state taxes and whatnot. Yeah.
State taxes are, our homes are a bit less expensive than they are in California.
Only a bit.
Did you guys buy your house sometime back in that 09, 10 down market anyway?
What? We didn't then because we had just moved from New York and we were poor as fuck. But Jersey Boys hadn't quite gotten its notice yet, but we could see the writing was on the wall and we thought maybe we've got another year. Matt was working for a show called 50 Shades the Parody. And the both of us were like, this is the best we'll ever look on paper. We should see if we can buy something. And so we bought here in 2015, which was also still a decent, it was going back up, but our interest rate was.
But you had in the threes, instead of the sevens or so,
Right.
Exactly. So, and we're in honestly, this neighborhood, it's, these are like track housing. Me and my neighbor, 3 of my neighbors have the same house, but kids knock on the door every day. My kids are outside playing with all the friends in the neighborhood. We go to school together. I drive the carpool. It's like, I got 7 kids every morning. It's a great neighborhood and really fun. And I can send out a text that I'll say, Westwood Village Assemble. We're caroling, and I'll make, 5 families go around the neighborhood with me and sing stupid songs.
And you have, and you will again.
I did. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But so this year we were able to, my sister-in-law lives in Paris and we've been wanting to go for a long time. And this year we finally said, all right, let's figure it out. Let's do it. We did it over spring break. And, if you're real smart, you can figure it out with points. That takes a long ass time, but you can play if you're willing to play that game, that numbers game. It's pretty neat.
It pays off in the end. It really does.
It really does. Yeah. So we went to New York for 3 days to try to break up that travel a little bit, and also because it's where Matt and I met. We try to go all the time. So
New York, yeah.
And it's New York City. And I am a constant, like, I don't want to over plan, but I certainly feel like we need to hit certain things, So we went to New York a couple years back and did a lot. And so this time I said, okay, the only thing I really want to do is walk the Brooklyn Bridge. So we did that. We walked Brooklyn Bridge and then went, downtown Washington Square Park and kind of Lower East Side because there is a theater on the Lower East Side. That's the St. Mark's Theater. It's just on St. Mark's and Second, I think. But outside of the theater, they have a couple different hand and footprints from the very first show they did there. And one of them happens to be my grandmother, Ruby Keeler, who was famous in the 30s and 40s for her films, 42nd Street being one of them. And my son's name is Keeler. So we thought that would be really fun to try to walk by that and have him check that out. And
they love it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's wild. It's really, you grow up with it, you don't think about it, but then when you have the next generation checking it out, it's pretty cool.
And it kicks back inside you, right? It's like, oh, when I grew up, like, oh, this is cool. My grandmother's name's here, you know, but whatever. But I grew up with it.
Yeah, and I didn't know. I remember stumbling upon it. Like, I remember seeing it and not knowing. Like, my dad didn't tell me. I don't even know if they knew that existed there. So I remember walking down the street once and being like, what is happening? That is crazy. Of course, you know, I was like, you gotta see this. So yeah, it was so fun. That was so fun. And then, you know, I'm a theater person, so I always drag everybody to at least one Broadway show.
At least one show.
And same thing, you know, there's cheaper ways to do that too. So there's the TKTS booth in towns. I always say Town Square now because of Vegas has a town
because of Vegas, right?
In Times Square, there's the TKTS booth, which of course has an app now. But there's also, like we have in Vegas, Ticks for Tonight. There's ticket websites that you can go to and just get, you know,
discounted tickets,
last minute discounted tickets. So we went and saw Spamalot on that trip.
I was gonna ask what you guys see. Spamalot. Oh, that's a good one. I remember when Spamalot. I think Spamalot was the second Broadway-esque show I saw in Vegas.
In Vegas, yeah, it's sat here for a minute.
Yeah, when the first I saw was Lion King.
Yeah,
another. And then I saw Spamalot, and then I saw Phantom.
Oh yeah,
and it was when I finally saw Phantom that I went, these are not Broadway length.
Right.
Because I didn't own the soundtrack to either of the other two musicals. Yeah. But I did own the soundtrack to Phantom. And it was my number one favorite musical. So when I saw that, I'm all, wait, that doesn't happen next.
Right.
That's when I realized that Vegas.
It's because it's Vegas. And unless you're a king, 70 minutes. That's it.
Yeah.
You go over 70. I mean, it takes, you have to be like Penn and Teller to do 90.
Yeah.
And then they still get shit if they do 91.
Yeah. Absence does 90, but that's been here for 13 years now. So it's kind of.
Yeah,
it's also technically on its own. It's not, quote, in a casino.
No, but it's partnered with Caesars now. It didn't start that way, certainly. But you know, it is, Ross has partnered with Caesars, so that's why they have the Hook in Atlantic City. It's on a Caesars.
That show rocks.
Did you see it?
Oh, I've seen it twice now, and I saw it. I want to say maybe month or two after it opened, and then I saw it a month or two ago, and so I got to see some lineup changes. You know, because it's a variety show, so even within a week they'll swap out acts scheduling wise or what have you. It's kick ass.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Of course, I haven't seen it because we haven't been out there yet, but I'm so happy to hear that because I've heard. I mean, I don't know anybody who's going to speak ill of it in my world, but everybody I've talked to says great things. So that makes me even happier that you are once removed from that. And I mean, not really, you're a performer, but I mean, from like the circus-y.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah, they have, and they're opening a new show here called Disco Show. That's going to.
I've gotten some emails about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Fairly soon. And that's supposed to be like a departure from the traditional circus model that they have. It's more of like a dance interactive show.
Okay. Like a review.
Like I'll let you
know.
No, like, so I could be very wrong on this, you guys, but I did a show in New York before I moved to Vegas the first time called The Donkey Show, not like the one in Mexico. The Donkey Show was
when I get to Mexico, I'll look that up and see
don't. Maybe don't. Yes,
maybe don't. No, maybe don't.
Here's what I recommend: if you can find it somewhere, just watch the Kevin Smith film Dogma, and you'll get all of the information you need to get about that without getting trapped into a nasty Google search.
I wouldn't Google search it. At least not from my own account.
Well,
definitely safe search that or incognito.
Incognito.
Yeah. So but the off
The one
Broadway
you were in.
of the Donkey Show was basically a Midsummer Night's Dream told through 70s disco music. And so it was
Nice.
all interactive. You had 4 women playing the 8 roles. And they were, it was a reverse kind of Shakespeare where we were playing men and women. And it was so fun, but it happened all around you. So it was a nightclub. So people would be dancing, and then action would happen over here. Action would happen over here. And so I believe that is similar to what they're doing. They're going to have some roller skaters in there. I think there's a plot that maybe you'll follow, but it's all kind of through dance and different areas. And it looks kind of, my buddy said it looks like it's a black box theater, but all those walls are LED.
Nice.
So it should be, it sounds pretty cool.
Is that going where Opium was, or is it going somewhere else?
It is at the Link.
Okay.
And so no, there's nothing where Opium was right now. Super Frico, the restaurant, is still there, but there's nothing on the other side where the theater was. And as of right now, I don't have anything to do with it. So there's a part of me that's curious to see what happens when it opens, if they have any swing positions that I might jump into. But also, something that's interesting is not a lot of people in the Spiegelverse know that I have like a theater background, partly because going into clowning, they don't like musical theater people. So
Which is weird.
I was trying to keep it on the down low.
Keep it on the down low. Keep the hush hush.
Yeah.
Until somebody goes, we got anybody who can sing this and act at the same time? Anybody on our roster?
But we digressed from Paris. What do you?
Oh, I'll get back to it.
Okay.
No, which is fine because as traveling shows tend to do and come and go. I know there are shows in Paris. Did you get a chance to see any theater while you were in Paris?
Well, it's kind of a regret. I did not get to see anything, and there was a production of Rocky Horror that everybody was talking about out there that was interactive that I really wanted to see, and it was done in English. And I did want to take the kids to see it, but I didn't know about it until about a week before I was going, and it was totally sold out. So I didn't get the opportunity to see it while we were there. So regrets. I'll just have to go back. And I didn't. Right. We thought about going to the Moulin Rouge, but I honestly have been told by many people that the shows are okay, and it felt like if I was going to spend that much money, I'd rather walk around and find some other fun experience and see some street performers and, get lost on a Parisian street. Back alley. Yeah. It's so cool. Yeah. It's such a beautiful.
And were you able to find those experiences?
We really did. We got an Airbnb that was in I believe the 9th arrondissement. And we were right by a friggin' bakery like they tell you to do. So, a patisserie. So we had friggin' all of the pastries every morning, the croissants, whatever the other things were called. One was called, it was called escargot, but it was not because it was escargot. It was just shaped like a snail.
Okay.
But it was like a pistachio croissant-y thing. It was delightful. And we were in there so much that, by the 3rd morning, the woman was like, Las Vegas. And they're like,
I get that.
Yeah. And so we could walk around and we were also by the metro station. So we could just pop on down there. And at this point, I'm sure you've all talked about this because it's a travel podcast, but first of all, at the metro, they had a kind of a ginormous touch screen that you could type in where you were going, and it would tell you exactly the trains to get there. And that if there was because they're different lines. So then it would be like, you're going to take this line to here. It's a 5, and then it would say walk 5 minutes. And so then it, so that you knew you were getting off that train, following the signs for the next one to get to walk, to do this, to whatever. So, the only thing that was weird was buying a weekly. They wanted you're supposed to get your picture taken for a passport photo on this weekly Metro card. And, but my sister-in-law was like, you don't have to do that. Because we started to like try to figure it out. And there was a photo booth, but we couldn't understand it. And we were there for like 30 minutes trying to figure it out. And I was like, we're not doing it, you know? And then, but then when we saw her later that day, she was like, you're fine. And there was only one time where they checked our things. It was like a late night that we were traveling back and forth.
Right.
But,
That's hilarious.
yeah.
No, and we haven't mentioned that yet on this podcast because I have not yet been to France to experience that. Because in Spain, there are two different trains. There's the Metro line and the Renfe line, the Renfe Concierges, and it just goes one rail just back and forth from Fuengirola to Malaga Central Alameda. And all the stops in between. We try to live somewhere close to that line for travel purposes whenever we're in Spain.
Yeah.
And then the metro kind of goes from the main center and then further inland, and they go inland and things like that.
Yeah.
You will rarely ever hop from a train to train. There aren't that many trains here. We did experience that when we went to the UK. We were in England for one day, but we're only there for one day, but trying to figure out where we wanted to go. And okay, we got to take this train, and then we got up this, you got to walk down here, go down here, keep going down again, go to like, how deep is this underground? Now I know why they call it the underground. Now I know why they call it the tube, because you're going down, down, down.
Yeah.
So far, there's all these train lines, like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's pretty magical. And the other thing I would say that blew my mind is that now they have them on the app, the Translate app on your phone,
right.
that you can just hold it to a menu or to a sign and it'll translate that for you. I think that is just bananas. And so it's so cool, but it's also so crazy to me.
Right.
That we have, I can't even imagine traveling back in the day without
our little technology advances.
Yeah, just
really help us.
Okay, I'm here. I want to go here. The Sacré-Cœur we went to, and then I was told the Moulin Rouge was not too far from that, so I look it up, and the walk was like gonna be probably 30 minutes, but I thought we'll see plenty of stuff along the way, and we sure did. It was that was probably my favorite day, just because we just kind of were exploring and taking turns and figuring things out, and it was, all of a sudden you're just like on a Parisian street and you're like, this is where people live. This is crazy,
Right. Every day, somebody comes out of that little house right there and walks down to this street.
Yeah, this is their normal. Yeah, it's so fun to do exactly what you're doing, to travel and to see other countries and to also, it's, as Americans, nothing is as old. You
right.
can go to New York City and find some history, but we just don't have that. These buildings that you kind of marvel at and think, when they were building it, there's no cranes, people. They didn't have proper footwear, and they were building these structures that are still pretty intact and had to be built to keep in the warmth in the winter and to have enough airflow for the summer, and just the how well thought out those were versus, the friggin' casinos that they're building now that they plan to just blow up at the end of the month or so. It just feels it's really it's a lot.
You really see how young America is.
Yes.
When you travel abroad and you see like where we stayed at in Benalmádena here in Spain, the apartment, there is an ancient Roman structure right at the part of the building that we lived in.
Wow.
As they discovered when they were getting ready to build, they're excavating the land, they found this Roman structure, so they had to build around it. Funnily enough, that area was going to be a parking lot, and since they couldn't make it a parking structure, they gave or a pool, they gave everybody who lives in that complex access to the pool, the hotel next door, as compensation.
Whoa.
So, you get to be in a really cool pool at this mid-range to high-end hotel. You have access to that. And you have this ancient history, outside your doorstep.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal.
That's what I love, say when you said that, it's true. It's like you forget how young our country is, really.
They razzed on us quite a bit in Egypt. We were at a alabaster place where they made things out of alabaster or whatnot, and there was, you know, all of the stuff in the front, and they're like, ooh, I'm gonna take you in the back where the older stuff is. This stuff is a few generations old, made by our great grandparents or whatnot, you know, but it's kind of like your country. It's only a couple hundred years old, so to us it's still not super old or antique. And again, most of the stuff there is like thousands of years old.
Wow. Yeah, that's someplace I would love to visit. Yeah, I don't think I'd be. I mean, I really was, and I think sometimes, you know, obviously, the older that you get, the more you do start to appreciate things. But when I was younger, just the idea of traveling that far was like, nah. You know, it just felt like too much of a thing.
Was that your first time going to Paris?
That was my first time in Paris. Yeah. Yeah, it was not my first time overseas. I've been to London and to Scotland and Ireland. I have family in you know, extended family in those areas, but we had never gone to Paris, and so that was my first time there. And when I was in London and Scotland and Ireland and those, that I did marvel at all of it, the beauty of it all, but I don't think I was old enough to really appreciate it and take it in, you know?
Right.
There was a pub. I have relatives in Wales that we visited, and they live in near Pontypool, but in a very small community. And they have like a pub that's a local pub that they said, oh yeah, we brought your grandmother here. And, you know, it's been there forever. And when you go in, you do feel like it's been there forever. But it is, but you know, it felt like that, but it didn't strike me until like years later that I just thought like, that's still there. Like whoever's running that has been, you know, in the family and running it
generation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like stuff here will go back as far as maybe a great granddaddy.
Right.
But you know, we're still young, you know. I mean, my favorite musical, Hamilton, you know, just like my country, young, scrappy, and hungry. That's still us.
Yeah.
You know, we're teenagers in terms of, you know, the world. That's why, whatever. We don't get into politics, but
yeah.
but again, we're very young. We're a very young country, right? And you really, when you get abroad, that's why I recommend people travel. It's one of the reasons why I love this podcast so much, because I get to meet people from other cultures and other countries, and get them on. They can tell us about their experience. Like I just interviewed a girl from Poland, a woman from Poland, and we're, you know, I was talking about traveling as a kid. Did you get to travel a lot? And she goes, well, I'm in my 40s, so 40 years ago, Polish people weren't doing a whole lot of travel.
Right.
We had other things going on.
Right.
And you're like, oh, right, the world stage, right, you know.
Yeah.
And so we should get to talk about that and get to dive into those things. Now, you born and raised in California.
That's right.
Shout out to Southern California. You know, when the cops see you coming, definitely warn a brother. And and then how old were you when you moved from LA to New York?
I was not quite 21 yet. I was I graduated high school at 17. My birthday's in October, so I was on the younger side.
Gotcha.
And then I was 19 when I moved to New York, and just hustled, you know, just found table waiting gigs and whatever else I could do before I got and a friend of mine had taken me, was like, we're gonna go see an off-Broadway show, and he's the one who took me to see the Donkey Show, and he was like, there's a show at 8 and there's a show at 10, and in my head I was like, no legitimate show starts at 10, you know. I was so 20 years old and so snobby, and that was the first interactive show I had ever seen. and really, I think helped set the tone for me as a performer and a comedian. So it was like so beautiful. And there's a big reveal at the end that the 4 women are also playing these characters, and 2 of them you kind of knew, but 2 you really don't. And it was such a fun theatrical moment for me that I was like, I want to be in that. How do I do that? I want to do that. So I kind of kept my eyes open for it and tried to figure out when they were having auditions, and sneakily got into that. And that was great. But it's New York, so
Right.
that show was Wednesday through Sunday. Wednesday, Thursday were 1 show nights, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday were 2 show nights. And so I still had to wait tables because it still wasn't enough to make my rent,
Did you have any like support already established when you went to New York, or did you like hit the ground? You had to find a place, find work, like.
Yep, I had I had to hit. I mean, my parents are pretty middle class, so couldn't really support me that much. We're
Right.
helpful in like helping with the security deposit. They want you to have first month's, last month's security, and that was
Right.
so much more than I didn't realize. But the first, I stayed with one of my mom's friends for the first week and a half while I looked for an apartment and looked for work. Just hit the ground running. Was like, okay, I was in Times Square, and so I went into this restaurant called Ruby Foo's and applied for a waitressing job there and got that. And then my cousin was living out there and going to the Academy of Dramatic Arts, and she had 2 roommates. And I was like, maybe you want to live with me? Maybe you want me to be your roommate? And from those 2 guys. And then we found a place in Queens because you can't live in the city. It's too expensive.
Right.
So we were in Astoria, Queens before it became real popular for kids to live in. And then that was that. We had a shitty little apartment in Astoria, Queens, right off the elevated N train, that would rattle our apartment every night and every morning. And it was it was incredible. And in fact, I moved there in 2000. And so I was there for 2001, and had just kind of started at the Donkey Show in August of 2001. So that was a whole experience as well, as being part of a community that was coming back on its feet, and after 9/11, and going to police stations and fire stations and giving them tickets, and then having them come. And that was, for people like us, when it comes to helping out, sometimes the only thing we can do is our art, right? I don't know how else to do that. So to give free tickets to workers who, were just the incredible things they saw and how they were helping and what they were doing, to have them be able to come in and just be free in this it was a discotheque, it's all 70s disco music, and it all happened around you. So it was very alive. And after the show would kind of turn into a nightclub. And, my mom grew up in New York City, and she worked at the Copacabana. She was a Copacabana dancer at a very young age. And so when I was hired by a nightclub, whereas most people might think that was terrifying, she couldn't have been happier, because she's like, they'll take care of you. And they did. It was very much a mafia scene, and they made sure I got in a cab every night that it was late, and they always made sure we were taken care of inside the building. And, it just kind of rolled like that. It felt very 70s disco inside that building. I'll tell you that.
That sounds like an experience. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to relocate positions. We're going to keep talking. Wife is about to start her working sessions right now. So I am going to move locations, but let's keep talking. Hold on a second.
When is your out?
Huh?
Will you have a hard out at some point soon?
Well, I have to get him to the dentist by 11:30. So if we can wrap in the next 10-15.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. This is guerrilla podcasting, I like to call it.
Big Sexy, always on the move, even in the middle.
Always
of
on the move.
Gotta be
Well,
moving.
it just so happens, actually, I'm going to come in here and we're going to wrap up and bring you to the toilet with me.
I love wrapping up on the toilet.
Cool. It's the best place to, finish things off. Right. But that way I still have access to the Wi-Fi. I can kind of talk quietly and not disturb the missus because she's working. Right. Oh, yeah, there we go. There. Perfect. Excellent. Yeah. So
you're on the toilet right now?
It is hard to look at a celebrity going, imagine the celebrity on the toilet taking a massive dump. That's what I'm doing.
Sometimes your segues and your transitions are so good you don't realize you're doing them.
Exactly. And this is very apropos for episode 100, of course.
Yeah, right in the toilet. This is where this is my kind of humor, everybody.
Episode title: Right in the Toilet.
Right
in the toilet. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Probably gonna get us a few more listens than if we make it the Donkey Show.
Yeah, and they might not
a few more listens that we want.
Different content. Yeah. But
right.
Maybe they'll learn something.
Well, look, Donkey Show is definitely going to go in the episode description. We definitely mentioned that we talked about the Donkey Show.
Yeah.
Or the Donkey Show. But
just what's funny is since we moved to Las Vegas, I have been saying, I love that. I'm like, I have been saying, everybody should listen to me. But that show was so fun and so interactive that I really have thought, it would be perfect downtown. It would be such a great show for this market because right now we're seeing so many less theatrical shows and so much more, we're losing entertainment in a different way. It's becoming stadiums and headliners and sports. And so something like that I think would be really great. And the disco show that Spiegel World looks so similar in tone and even in like the marketing. But you know what? I didn't do it, so I can't be mad about it. I can just say if it works, I can feel pretty good that I should have gambled on it. But so we'll see how it goes.
Cool. We got any future projects coming up?
Okay. Any future projects coming up? No, I feel really, really grateful to be working for Spiegel World in that I do Absinthe a couple nights a week and I'm over at the Atomic Saloon a few times a month. And those keep me busy and allow for me. They're like my normal person job. They're my 401k and my
bread and butter.
Yeah. And so I get to do other things. Like I got to do Jersey Boys this year or direct music videos. I help run the drama club at the kids' elementary school. So that's our next project for this year is we're going to put on we're not sure the show yet, but we put on a play every year. And
you want to hear something very interesting?
Yes.
That was who just came in right now?
Keeler.
Yeah. That is the first time I've seen your child live.
No, get out of here.
Yeah. Everything I have seen, hello.
That's Big Sexy, and that's you met the judge.
I did, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but Keeler and I have never met before. Pleasure to meet you, Keeler. Like I know you, I know you already, but you don't know me yet.
Yeah.
Are you the puppet master?
I am the puppet master.
He is the puppet master.
Guess who got the first Puppet Master podcast interview? Right here.
Big Sexy Digital Nomad. So, Keeler, tell me, how much do you love puppets?
I love them. I think it's just fun to puppeteer, make them their own little universe.
Excellent. And I when I heard about you liking puppets, I wondered if you had know that there's a Las Vegas puppet making factory in the mall.
There is.
Yes, it's called Las Vegas Puppet. What I'll do is I'll send you the information. I'll send you all the links. With the group I did called Ants in the Pants, we had an entire work with the Las Vegas Puppet Company, I think they're called, or something along those lines.
But they have a whole workshop in not the Meadows Mall, but the one that's on Maryland,
Uh-huh.
the Boulevard Mall, I think it's called.
Oh yeah, that's where I go get all my hypnosis looking shirts.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
so they have a puppet factory right next to what used to be one of the greatest escape rooms in existence. But they still do stuff. My good friend John Tomasello runs it, so I'll make sure you have that connection, and you can go over there. You can make puppets and perform with them and do all that kind of stuff.
That is so cool. Thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure. The least I can do for the puppet master. Anything I can help out with.
Okay.
Yeah,
What was your favorite part of Paris?
My favorite part of Paris, it was so fun to just explore the city, see what the different lifestyle is there compared to how we live. I thought that was really cool.
Would you want to live there, or do you prefer living in Vegas?
I prefer living in Vegas, but I think it's really cool if I did live there.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's an idea for when you get older. If you decide when you get to the age you want to travel the world and you want to be a free spirit, I highly recommend traveling through Europe.
Yeah.
If it's not on fire, then I mean, it's always possible that this earth will be on fire.
Yeah.
It
Well,
is very possible.
I mean, it's hot because climate control. We're all burning up in here.
yeah. It's hot. It's real hot here, so it can't be hotter than what we're
Right.
experiencing.
Exactly. Well, I don't know, but yes, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Wonderful to meet you.
Wonderful to meet you.
Likewise, I look forward to hearing more of your adventures and exciting things that I love to have an access into your fun and your excitement. So keep it up.
Thank you.
No problem.
I'll be out in just a minute, and you can take that cat out with you.
Come here. Oh, I
Well,
know.
Sarah, thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you guys. I feel like we just babbled. I don't feel like I helped or contributed in any way.
You contribute 100%.
That's what we do here.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
I don't know if you listen to an episode. This is exactly what it sounds like on pretty much every episode, including interviews. I always
Okay.
tell people, yes, it's a travel podcast, but it's really entertainment first,
Yeah.
and maybe some travel second. I talk to people who've gone to places, but I talk about people, right? And
Yeah. Well, and I think that's it. Travel is so is so specific to people, to a person, right? Some people love the adventure of it, and some people just want to find the place where they can just relax or have a guided tour.
Right.
So
Now, before we end, because we always have the kind of nuggets at the very end. We always have great information. What type of traveler are you? Are you like you said you're a planner? Do you like to plan everything out, or do you like to go and be spontaneous? Whatever happens.
I've gotten much better as I've gotten older to not try to plan everything. So I think I think it's fun to try to make sure, it's like I was going to Paris. We have to see the Eiffel Tower. We had to do it because I have children, right? So you're like, let's have that experience. Let's try to go to Notre Dame. Like, what are the big things that you don't want people to say? You didn't go here,
You did Arc de Triomphe? How do you not see the Arc de Triomphe?
Right. And we actually, it was like, okay, I think we'll see it. But that ended up being on the first day where it was like, hey, do you guys want to just do this today? We're all kind of tired and not really. So we just kind of found where it was and got on the metro and went there and walked around a little bit and explored and then went back. And so that felt really fluid. And I think I like that. It's interesting. Obviously, my husband is an improviser. He's very good at just kind of being free and kind of just yes-anding situations. And I've always been, this is the script. You stick to the script, and this is what it is. So I've gotten much better at being a little bit more fluid and yes-andy, and he has gotten better at understanding that if I say we're getting up and going to the Eiffel Tower today, get your shit together because we're going to the Eiffel Tower and we have a time slot and we have to be there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, thank you for sharing your stories with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you for being our guest at episode 100. I can't express how honored I feel to have you here, how
Well, thank
wonderful
you
it is.
for having me, and congratulations on being legitimate. You know, it's
Thank
really
you.
a feather in your cap, a toast to your hard work and dedication.
Yeah, and I'll see if we make it to episode 101. You know, who knows with all the traveling we're about to do. But I'm looking forward.
Also, a word of advice: don't tell your son too much about what I do now on stage, because when he realizes that he can be a puppet master for humans, there may be no turning back.
Oh, I mean, he saw you. He saw
But he
you.
didn't see me do that show. I
Hypnosis.
definitely mentioned that I
Right.
do that, but in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I can't do
You couldn't do what
one
you
of
do.
those shows. I did later that year do my show on that stage.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
well,
you've been there now 2 or 3 times. It's a real fun room. So
it is such a fun room. Maybe when he's a little bit older, we'll let him in on your secret
Oh,
talent.
I definitely want to be back in Vegas for that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Maybe
Well, guys,
get you out for one of those scoop fests, and he can finally go. He always wants to go to the big adult things now.
yeah.
of course he does. He's at that age, and he sees
Well,
dad go off and sees mom go off.
Yeah, and he knows he can never come see me perform ever at any
Right.
show I do.
Oh
so-
no, absolutely not. Not. Have you? Ooh, excuse me. This is hot and sweaty over here. Ooh.
Yeah, we talked about me doing my show or potentially collaborating with Matt and Paul to make it similar to that hip prop show that's out and let them just kind of go with stuff.
Yeah.
And then I booked that Egypt trip that was basically ass to ass with Scoop Fest. So jumping legitimately halfway across the world time zone wise was not in the cards for this past year.
Yeah, I was really bummed that I missed you at Scoop Fest.
I
well
know.
At the Bucket Show. I was in California, actually. And I thought we were going to be traveling back to Spain like the day after Scoop Fest. There was no way I could do it. We ended up bumping it a week later, so I could have gone, but I had already gone to Vegas instead.
Yeah.
It was a big kerfuffle.
Well, and isn't it funny, like all of us right now, that's just kind of what we do. It's like we're all talking about travel. So we're on the travel podcast talking about how, your Egypt trip and your all around the world trip. It's just, and that's a part of Scoop Fest was that I had a gig outside. So, it becomes a whole thing,
It becomes a thing. It becomes a beautiful
it kind
thing.
of gets in the way, but at the same time provides a beautiful, way to experience life. So I'm with you. I think making sure that you get travel in is kind of the best way to live. If you can get it, if you can do it, find ways to do it. It's so easy to make excuses not to, right? It's so easy to say, I don't have enough money or I don't have the time. And you just have to carve it out.
I just realized something amazing.
What?
Inevitably, when they book Matt back down there next year, I need to do a show there the night before or the night after and have him do a puppet act to open for me.
Oh, that
would kill.
That would be
that
pretty
would be awesome.
That would be pretty cool.
That would be
that
pretty
would
awesome.
kill.
He's got the bug for sure. He's quite the performer. That one.
Or at Scoop Fest. He could open for me at Scoop Fest. Either way.
He would want to stay and see all of the things at Scoop Fest.
Two back-to-back puppet shows.
Yeah. Exactly.
We'll have him open Scoop Fest. There you go.
All right. I have to run.
If people want to grab you, Sarah, where can they find you?
Oh, God, I'm so bad at this. You can find me on Instagram, and the Facebooks. I mean, that's really where I'm ever, doing shit. The Side Hustle podcast is kind of basically on a hiatus. I don't know that we'll ever make it back because Chelsea is just living it up and doing amazing on the QVC.
She's killing it at QVC. Killing it.
And as you know, time difference and trying to coordinate all that shit can be so tricky.
So tough.
But I have a website. I think it's thesarahlowe.com. And I don't even know. I think it's Sarah J. Lolo on Instagram.
That's Sarah with an H. And
Oh,
Lowe,
yeah.
Lowe. It
Yeah,
is the
Sarah
Sarah
H.
Lowe.
Don't forget the H. Lowe, like the hardware store. But bitch, I ain't got that money.
And I'll put all that links down in the description below, of course. And if you're in Vegas, be sure to check out Atomic Saloon. Be sure to check out Absinthe. You may get lucky and catch Sarah Lowe in the cast. And if you're listening, be sure to follow all the things. The guys, if you want to become a subscriber of the podcast and get access to all this fun stuff, we'd appreciate you over there at bullwiththebutthole.com, where you too can become a subscriber of Big Sexy Digital Nomad for a mere $1 a month. You'll be helping us out. We'd love to have you over there. Take care. In the meantime, Sarah, thank you once again for joining us on episode 100. Judge Mentalist, anything you need to push out there before we go?
Probably. Hey, look, Rochester Fringe Festival, 5 shows over 5 days in September, the 11th through the 15th. Come see me, tell a friend, etc., etc. I get weekly updates. Those tickets are moving, and there are only 108 seats in that theater for each of those shows. So get them now.
Get them now. All right, y'all. Thanks again. And in the meantime,
Safe travels.
safe travels.
Safe travels.
All right, y'all. I gotta run. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Take care.